It's day 15 of the Great Western Adventure. And this is the monologue where we discuss the highs and the lows of the day. And today was a really good day. We started out from West Yellowstone, KOA, about 10 miles west of the town. Drove in, got some snacks, and then we joined the huge traffic jam at the gate of Yellowstone National Park. Now, I've been up to Yellowstone many times when I used to live in Wyoming. And when I went up in May and September, I usually would have the park all to myself pretty much. I mean, it was actually hard just to keep below the speed limit. Well, that was a problem this time. Because of the lockdown prior and restrictions finally being lifted to a certain extent, because no one was able to travel that much last summer, everybody was out in Yellowstone in the fall. And I thought the jam at the park gates was bad. I was in for a big surprise. It was 5 and 10 miles an hour the entire way through the park. They called these backups are caused because of wildlife. The funny thing is everyone is so desperate to see the wildlife, and there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of elk, deer, bison, you name it, up here. But people are so desperate that they would see one elk in the distance and 300 cars would stop. And that meant that you were going nowhere fast. Oh well, life goes on. We stopped first at Madison Junction and the geyser basins around here and walked around them. And then we drove the 20 or 30 miles over to Canyon Junction, which is where the Yellowstone River drops through two major waterfalls into very steep canyons. By this time, it was a little later in the day, so there weren't quite as many people. The nice thing with all the rain we had had the last several weeks, the river was way up and the falls were flowing strongly. Luckily, I had done research and also I had been here once or twice way in the past. So I knew how to get to the best sites with the least amount of effort and walking. When you're on a schedule, that means everything. As in, you only have so many hours of daylight, and people don't understand. Yellowstone is 100 miles by 100 miles square. So what looks really close on the map isn't. So when you get to a point, you cannot spend 3 hours walking down to one feature and back. Though we did do it for Norris Basin, which is just north of Canyon Junction, because it's an amazing geyser and cauldron of geothermal activity. From there, believe it or not, by the time we got done with this, it was already about 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so. So we headed back the 23 miles to Madison Junction. And since it wasn't super late, it wasn't in the original plan, but we drove up to Mammoth Hot Springs, which is on the north end of the park, and we toured the various geothermal features up and down the the roadway, and saw Minerva Terrace and Black Dragon Mountain. Didn't see a lot of wildlife, but we saw enough. We then beat feet back down to Madison Basin and then back to West Yellowstone. And we timed it about right. About the time it was getting dark, we were only about 5 to 10 miles away from West Yellowstone. And instead of going back to our campground, we drove into the town itself to go have dinner. And yeah, West Yellowstone is expensive. And we had some trouble finding a place that, well, one, we liked the cuisine, and two, that wasn't sky high prices. But we did. After 20 minutes of walking around the downtown. And West Yellowstone is not a small place. The downtown is like 6 blocks by 6 blocks square, which is big by Western town standards. And then we went back to the West Yellowstone KOA for the night. And tune in for the night video to hear about our experiences there. Wishing you all a great day.